Earlier today, Fallout 76 got an update, bringing some of the first new content to the game in months, but also kind of fixing their most recent update. The last patch for Fallout 76 was plagued with a variety of issues, and it's almost like this most recent hotfix update is fixing several of them. In many ways, it definitely feels like a part 2 or what should have been that update we got around 2 weeks ago. But at the very least, better late than never, and in this video, I'm going to highlight all of the new content or new fixes that just got added to the game, but even further look at some of the new bugs that also were just added to the game and certain frustrations that some of us are having. If you guys enjoy the content, you can leave a like or get subscribed. If you're watching this when it goes live tomorrow, I'm going to have a huge deep dive on the data mined information from Fallout 76. There's a ton of new Brotherhood of Steel info, a ton of info on their arrival and the Steel Dawn DLC, and although I've been working on the video for several days, I wanted to get this one out first as the update just went live today. Although one last minute change Bethesda brought with this most recent hotfix is they announced last night how it would actually be a PC exclusive for the time being. Describing how our plans for this hotfix have changed a bit, we're going to start by releasing it for PC versions of the game tomorrow, and then monitor some of the changes it contains before we release the hotfix for console versions of the game closer to the end of the week. They've done this a couple times in the past, and more or less one of the main justifications is they could actually push additional hotfixes quicker on PC. So let's say the update goes live, something is horribly broken, they could fix it quickly on PC, while on consoles it takes much longer because they have to go through Sony or Microsoft. So first and foremost, with this most recent update, what went live in Fallout 76 is the new event, A Colossal Problem. This scenario with the Colossal Problem is a bit of an odd one in that it was actually supposed to release a couple of months ago, but then ended up getting delayed until patch 21. Then the morning when patch 21 came out, it actually got delayed a second time, so now we finally have it in game. Except it didn't work, at least initially. As this went live and people tried to join that event, they found that as you click on the event to join it, you're just immediately disconnected from the server. It's not totally clear what was going on here, some kind of server-side issue from Bethesda. A Colossal Problem has been in testing on the PTS for months without this issue. Clearly something with pushing this to live servers, although within an hour of the initial update going live, this was fixed. No additional downloads were required, and there was no server downtime. It just started magically working. That initial hiccup aside, now we do have the Colossal Problem event in Fallout 76, which really marks itself as the second boss tier enemy you can encounter. As now what you'll find is, as you drop a nuke on the Monica Mine location, inside a Wendigo Colossus, as well as a variety of Wendigo spawns, will be there. And it's a big fight, and actually one of the most rewarding fights in the game, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. To go along with this new update, there's also a minor side quest, that with something sentimental. At Foundation, you could find a new settler who is concerned or curious as to what happened to her father, who was last seen at Monica Mine. I don't want to spoil too much, but there really isn't much to spoil. It's a very simple and small side quest. It doesn't seem like there's any unique rewards from it, but just keep in mind, you do have to actually do the event to complete this quest. So if you're going to do it, may as well proc the quest before you do the event for the first time. And the character does have some dialogue about this whole situation and does give some background as to the event overall. The Monica Mine with this is actually pretty unique in that you can't even enter the mine itself unless it is a nuked location and the event is active. If a Colossal Problem is not active, the mine will be blocked by rubble and there's just no way to enter. But once it is active, you can walk in and there's actually several minutes of waiting before the event itself starts, so you could kind of explore the area. There's a few notes related to that something sentimental quest and giving background to the boss fight overall, and then eventually a few minutes later you will be able to enter into the main battle arena itself. Although this event actually has several unique aspects to it. First and foremost, when you go in this mine, you are entering into an instanced interior, and there is a limit of 8 players per instance. Previously on the PTS it was unlimited, but at one point Bethesda decided to change this, likely for balance reasons, trying to make the event harder. But what this means is, once you get 8 players fighting the Wendigo Colossus or doing a Colossal Problem, let's say you're the 9th player to join, it'll create a totally new and separate instance for you. So you may find yourself alone or with just a few others, which definitely can create some frustrating situations. You might have what seems like an active and full server, but let's say there's only 19 people on and all of them are doing the event, you might be in that leftover third instance and actually only have a few players with you. During the event itself, it is fairly straightforward. All you have to do is kill the big Wendigo Colossus here, although you'll have to fight off Wendigo spawn from time to time, and there also will be falling debris or rubble from the ceiling, and you'll find little spots on the ground that deal damage over time if you walk over them, so be wary of those. Even further, a lot of people are probably going to farm this event, as there's 2 main farmable resources here. One of the obvious ones is when to go drop screws. Screws are immensely valuable in crafting in Fallout 76, so especially during the first week or so that this event is live, you'll probably find a lot of people not focusing on the Colossus, but focusing on those Wendigo spawns to get some of those screws. But even further, a bit of a secret secondary change, there's actually a % chance that if you kill these Wendigo spawns with a flamer, they'll reward you with flamer fuel. As of right now, it seems like it only works with a flamer, but in the PTS right now, the new daily ops feature actually does this for nearly all weapons outside of heavier weapons. So if you are a flamer user like me, it is actually pretty handy to use down here, as you may end up recouping some fuel. It seems like it spawns around 50% of the chance you will get 30 or so fuel to put back in your inventory. Once you kill the Wendigo Colossus, the mine will collapse, so you'll either die and just spawn outside or have to run outside of the area. But when it comes to the rewards of this event and actually completing it, it is pretty powerful. Right off the bat, this event can give you up to 3 legendary items. There's some new cursed legendary items that you can win just by doing this, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. Alternatively, by killing the Wendigo Colossus himself, you can loot a legendary item, and it also has a chance to give you a 1 to 3 star legendary just for finishing the event. But also, just from finishing the event, there are a bunch of new things in Fallout 76 you can find. I'll have the drop chances on screen for each of these. I'll have a full link to the post on Reddit where I got these from in the description. The rarest item from the event overall is the Reclaim Deep Mining Gas Mask, which definitely looks pretty cool. There's a Wendigo Colossus head on a stake you can place down at your camp, which also is one of the coolest camp items we've gotten from one of these events. A Wendigo Colossus skin rug, a Wendigo Colossus plushie, which is absolutely adorable, a meat pile, which you can place at your camp, and then 3 new cursed weapons. These cursed weapons you just get if you complete the event. You previously had to loot a specific chest in the area, but it was changed, and these actually have a unique legendary effect, but also fixed legendary effects. So you have a certain % chance to just get one of these as a drop by completing the event, and what you'll find is they'll have this new cursed effect, which more or less makes it so the weapon does increase damage and has a higher rate of fire, but has lower durability, so it'll break faster, effectively being a glass cannon as well as the 3 other legendary effects it always will have. So overall, these definitely could be good, especially if it's a good synergy with your build. I wouldn't say any are gods here, but it's going to be an interesting one to see if they get picked up or used readily. As of right now, it seems like you can continuously earn these though, so even if you get one today, don't fret, I think you get another one in the future. And also, something else that makes this pretty popular, it awards 8 treasury notes, which right now is the highest of any event in Fallout 76. But one of the huge issues that is preventing enjoyment from this event, at least for me and seemingly for several others, is the respawn bug. This is a bug that's been around with Fallout 76 for a very long time now, and more or less what happens is when you're doing an event and you die, typically there's a system where it should just respawn you at that event. You have a little countdown, except during this, you'll notice that, oh no, it's telling me to choose a place to respawn, which can be an issue in particular with nuke zones because you can't typically respawn in a nuke zone or at a location in a nuke zone. You can spawn on people in a nuke zone, but this at the Colossal Problem event will spawn you outside of the event. And once the event is started, once that initial countdown does go off, you will no longer be able to re-enter the event. The cave closes back up, so you're literally stuck outside just watching people do it. And you can even see in this video, there are a few other people that seem to have the same exact bug and were just stuck outside with me. We got kicked out of the event because we died. And I've had this happen 3 times now while trying to complete this event, and it is immensely frustrating. If you do die during one of the final stages of the event, it's not a big deal because you'll still get the completion for it, but of course you're not actually playing it anymore and you can't loot the Wendigo Colossus himself. It seems like this is somewhat of a niche issue, it's not happening to everyone, but for me it's happening every time and it basically ruins my experience with the event. If I die, I can't do it anymore. And although I tried really hard to not die several times, it just is sometimes gonna happen. And although this bug has been around for a long time, prior to this update I was barely ever getting it, but now after this update I get it every time I die, which makes doing almost all interior based events pretty frustrating. And just for example, in one instance, I was doing this event, I played for a good 15 minutes working towards this after the initial countdown. It's actually kind of hard to find a server with this because you do have to launch a whole nuke, and I died, as you naturally have to, because I wasn't paying close enough to my health and I just lost all of that progress. I couldn't get back in, I couldn't get any of the rewards because they weren't on the final stage, and in particular it's frustrating because many users who will have this bug and also are very bloodied build will know that if you're a bloodied build, which involves having low health, you tend to die pretty often. And with Wendigo that will jump at you, or when you get stunned during this event, death is almost inevitable. So literally to play this event, I had to stop using my main build with even a sliver of hope of staying alive for the duration. So overall, with the Colossal Problem working perfectly, or even as I was playing it on the PTS, I'd say it's a lot of fun. I don't really think it needs that 8-player limit. I think it just kind of removes the fun factor of those worldwide events where you have everyone on a server fighting a high-tier boss at the same time. But either way, it definitely can be a fun one. There are some cool and unique rewards from this. I like what they're doing with those cursed weapons. I think it's a nice twist on rewards. But at least for me right now, playing the event knowing I can't die despite the fact that I use a bloodied build is too frustrating that I just basically can't enjoy it. Although outside of that, this also contained several fixes for things that were either broken or not appropriately fixed with the past update. One of the huge ones is the build change was reverted. So in the last update to Fallout 76, Bethesda made it so you couldn't switch a wall with a door in it to a wall that was solid or to a windowed wall. At first glance, probably doesn't seem like a big issue, but this was kind of an exploit or tool that was widely used by the building community to build a lot of unique or custom things. You could store things in walls, making things like gun safes, or even things like floating parts of camps, double walls, so you could actually have wallpaper on the outside and inside. Bethesda was pretty adamant that they weren't going to revert this and kind of talked about actually making some upgrades that officially would support some of these features, but I guess they decided not to, as with this update they reverted that change, which is definitely a positive to come from this update. Outside of that, they also did add the pocketed and deep pocketed mods for the Secret Service armor limbs to the vendor. In the last update in the patch notes, it said this was added, but they forgot to put it live, so it was not in game, but now it is in game. The Brotherhood of Steel fatigues are now once again an under armor rather than an outfit. In the last update, for one reason or another, it was changed to an outfit, which meant it could no longer give your character bonuses and it would appear over all of your armors. They made it so you could actually re-enter the Spruce Knob boat rental. This is a little unmarked location that is a part of one of the Wastelanders quests, so not being able to enter it was kind of taking away one of the big options with that quest. And although that is fixed, we still have yet to see a fix to the issue with an ounce of prevention. That's more or less one of the required quests from vanilla Fallout 76 that also you need to do to progress Wastelanders, and just during one of the quest stages, you can't progress it. It says you require an item, and even if you have that item, put it in the right spot, it'll just say, no, you still need that item. Bethesda has responded saying that it was supposed to be in this update or this hotfix, but it got pushed for one reason or another. That is kind of a huge issue. You have this giant new Wastelanders DLC questline that right now you cannot complete in Fallout 76, because again, that is a required quest and you can't complete it. We're going on 2 weeks that this has been broken, which is kind of a long time for this, especially in a live service game. A few other things, like one of the companions not giving you quests, an exploit related to small generators. You can once again use the Future Tech Camp module skin, which previously made it so your camp would not appear on the map if you actually use that. In addition, today there's a few new things released on the Atomic Shop, a new free emote to join your public team, as well as a new Communist Power Armor skin and paint shop, technically being a reskin of the old one, but you don't actually need the old one, you could just get this one on its own. Although a separate issue to pop up with some new Atomic Shop items is with the Communist Bunker. It's this really cool bunker that has a sliding door, little areas for almost shooting holes or turret placements on the walls, and just looks awesome in a lot of camps, almost like a man cave or maybe an area for crafting items. Except one, if you just open the door, you'll immediately realize the audio effects are repurposed and don't sync up with the door like at all. The audio just continues as the door is clearly open or closed, and it's actually pretty bad. Several seconds of extra audio. Those little shooting holes or turret holes are not represented at all on the inside. The interior overall is quite a bit smaller than you would think it should be, although those aren't really huge issues. But what is probably the biggest issue is everything floats. It's sometimes hard to tell at first glance, but if you're using this, you will absolutely tell, and you can just see literally everything is like a few inches off the ground. It's almost like there's a secondary layer of invisible flooring that you're actually placing on top of. I don't know what happened with this one, but it's another instance of like, did just nobody test this? Did nobody actually go into this bunker and open the door and place things down on the floor? Or was it just kind of like, it's good enough, just ship it? And yeah, that's more or less a recap of this update. Large in part, probably a good thing for the game, adding in a lot of good content, but another one of those updates that has a little asterisk next to it. It reintroduced some problems with that fast travel bug for certain players. Again, I'm getting it all the time now, and I know other people are as well, but at the very least, I guess for several of these fixes, we only had to wait 2 weeks outside of a month or 2 months like we have in the past, so I suppose we could call that progress. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Tomorrow, again, I'll have that big video on the PTS data mines at Brotherhood of Steel DLC, but until then, I thank you all for watching again, and I hope to see you all later.